Recently, I was asked why I'm not a feminist. This question poses an old dilemma for me. When confronted with a political or philosophical question, how should I approach it? Incrementally or radically? A similar dilemma crops up when I'm asked any number of questions, but for an example, do you support Ukraine over Russia? Incrementally, I do. After all, most would agree that Russia is the aggressor. Ukraine is merely trying to preserve its sovereignty. But radically, I don't believe in Ukraine. I don't believe in Russia. I don't believe they should exist. I don't value the concept of sovereignty all that much. Borders, in my opinion, should be abolished. Nation states are a mistake. Humanity should unify under one government, or under no government, if we could ever figure that out. The problem with the incrementalist answer is that it isn't the truth, not the truth of my heart. It's akin to asking whether a murderer should kill her victims more humanely. Sure, I guess. She should kill her victims more humanely as opposed to less humanely, but more broadly, she shouldn't kill them at all. The problem with the radical answer is that it's often pragmatically useless to the asker. It's like responding to, "What do you want for dinner?" with, "I do not believe in designating meals based on chronology. Therefore, the concept of dinner I find quite laughable." You know? Maybe it's true. Maybe you got a point. But your answer is fundamentally useless to the person asking the question. But let's get back to feminism. What is it? Equality for women? Choice for women? I support that. But there are variants of feminism I can't support. There are variants of feminism like pop culture feminism, which oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, completely inane drivel. Then there are these trans, exclusionary, radical feminists, or TERFs, who, as far as I'm concerned, are merely bigots using the pretext of feminism to justify their loathing of trans people. There are other rad fem variants of feminism who don't preach equality, but some form of female supremacy. And these feminisms I cannot support. But let's put these fringes aside and focus on the core of feminism, equality and choices for women. Why can't I be a feminist under that banner? Well, famous bigot Matt Walsh once asked, well, frequently asks, "What is a woman?" Interesting, by the way, that he never asks, "Who is a woman?" Because that wouldn't that be the more reasonable question? But anyway, I'll answer that one. Who is a woman? Incrementally, my answer is whoever identifies as one. But radically, my answer is no one. Assigning character distinctions to the sexes in the form of gender is an affront to the human spirit. Why should certain attitudes, clothing styles, bodily features, and even feelings be gatekept behind the conceptual barriers that split man as a concept from woman as a concept? I want a world where a person can be a bow hunter who loves the color pink and who works on car engines for a living and belongs to a knitting circle. What set of genitalia does that person have? I don't care. I don't think anyone should care. I can't be a feminist because ultimately I find men and women to be totalitarian concepts. I know. That's the kind of thing you expect out of the loony left. However, to show you I'm not totally divorced from reality or anything, I know that people are going to continue to identify as men and women for a very long time. That's reality, right? I can't act as if humanity is currently post-gender just because that's what I want for us. I have to deal with the reality that most people in 2023 still have gender identities. We're beginning to see a rejection of this gender imposition in the form of non-binary people, but this social movement remains in its nascent stages. And as long as there are men and women, which is to say, as long as there are people who hold to those identities, there will be men's issues and women's issues, and to exist pragmatically and ethically within the framework of this time and place, I must regard those gendered issues with a certain degree of credence regardless of my overarching belief in a post-gender world. But I cannot do this as a feminist, nor can I do this as an MRA, nor as any label that perpetuates the very gender divisions that I ultimately seek to usurp. Supplementally, I think that both feminist and MRA philosophies have a tendency to breed animosity between the supposed masculine and the supposed feminine. Human beings tend to define themselves through animus towards an enemy class, and for many feminists, the easy answer to what's wrong with the world becomes men. And for many MRAs, the easy answer is women. I think both camps should consider, just consider now, that the system itself is the villain here. The artificial separation of human beings into these social designations based on nothing more than genitalia is the villain. I know, human beings don't like abstract villains. They don't like conceptual villains. They like flesh and blood villains that they can make into scapegoats. This, by the way, is perhaps our most unfortunate tendency as a species. Even with trans people, who make the case that a person can inhabit the social designation of man or woman without having the traditionally corollary genitalia, the binary is still preserved there. The division is preserved. They've merely changed the criteria from genitalia to self-identification. This is a step forward, and I respect trans identities, obviously, just as I do cis ones, but ultimately, I believe that humanity would be better suited, would be better off if individuals were free to dress, think, feel, do, and be as they please without the need for a gender binary or any concept of gender at all. And that's why I can't call myself a feminist. It's quite simply incongruent with my position of gender abolitionism. I hope I've explained it clearly. Thanks for watching. I'm the Amazing Atheist, PTFO.